My next patron question is from Sonia, who wants to know about the reaction to a specific villain's portrayal. In 2020, Robert Zemeckis' adaptation of Roald Dahl's The Witches was met with backlash from the disabled community about how the witch's hands resembled a condition known as ectrodactyly, and led to a bit of a reckoning on how disabilities and physical differences are often portrayed negatively in media. 2 years later, however, Minions: The Rise of Gru was released, and one of the villains, Jean-Claude, has a prosthetic arm. At the time I thought, oh boy, it's going to be the witches all over again. But to my surprise, nobody made a peep about it. Why did Minions: The Rise of Gru get a pass for a disabled villain, but not the witches? Well, to start with that character from Minions, I think very few even thought that character was meant to be disabled. From the looks of things, his claw hand is meant to be more of an accessory he decided made him look cool, rather than to replace his hand. In fact, spoiler alert for The Rise of Gru, when the villain group he's a part of get turned into rats at the end of the movie, he has 2 normal-sized rat hands. So that seems to imply he had a regular hand underneath the claw, and he was not disabled. Now, looking at the witches, that did indeed generate controversy for giving the witches what appeared to be that condition. Many in that community felt it sent the message that anyone with that disability was, well, an evil witch. And I can definitely see how that would cause hurt. The whole premise of the witches is these women who hide their real appearance, which is meant to be seen as hideous and embodying their evil personality, especially the Grand High Witch. Why would anyone with that condition want to be associated with that? In Roald Dahl's original book, the witches just have really long fingers, so this was entirely an addition for this specific adaptation. Although the book has generated its own controversy, with some expressing the feeling the witches are meant to be anti-Semitic characters of Jewish people, which, considering some of the comments Dahl made about Jews during his lifetime, is not too big of a leap. Both Warner Brothers and Anne Hathaway would issue statements apologizing for the hurt caused, and I think there has been an effort in recent years to make sure there is better understanding of certain disabilities. Of course, there have been a lot of discussions lately about how disabilities are depicted in media. Captain Hook has generated quite a bit of talk as he becomes disabled after losing his hand to a crocodile. He then chooses to wear a hook, which becomes his main identifying trait alongside his fear of the crocodile and hatred of Peter Pan. While I think when it comes to Peter Pan, the depiction of the natives tends to generate more uncomfortable discussions. I know there's also been a lot of talk lately specifically about how autistic people are depicted in the media. The movie Music was highly controversial, and The Good Doctor's gotten mixed responses regarding its representation of the autistic lead character. What I've noticed from autistic people online is that they gravitate towards characters who the film or show might not label as autistic, but which they themselves see traits in them. So filmmakers might create autistic characters without necessarily realizing it. Phoebe Spengler in Ghostbusters Afterlife is one such example. Lilo from Lilo and Stitch is another one I occasionally see mentioned. Meanwhile, a couple of directors who've surprisingly received positive attention for the depiction of disabled people in their movies are the Farrelly brothers. Despite being known for gross-out comedies, they've often made sure to have respectful portrayals of disabled people, even hiring actors who actually have those disabilities. I recently watched Shallow Hal, which had a character with spina bifida being played by Renee Kirby who actually had the condition. And he's never the butt of the joke for his condition, with Hal, despite his otherwise shallow behavior towards women, treating him as a good friend and with a lot of respect. While the movie's handling of obesity sends a mixed message, this one thing is at least admirable. Speaking of crude comedies, Tropic Thunder gone hot water for the in-universe movie Simple Jack, which has Tug Speedman, the lead protagonist played by Ben Stiller, depict an intellectually disabled character. Disability groups protested Tropic Thunder over this, but within the current context of the movie, I don't think it was meant to make fun of people with intellectual disabilities. The joke is clearly on Tug relying on stereotypes for his performance and thinking he managed to accurately portray someone with that condition when he absolutely did not. The whole film was meant to be a parody of actors' overinflated egos, after all, with Simple Jack spoofing overwrought dramas. At the end of the day, we need to listen to people who actually have these conditions and listen to how they feel. It's good that we're seeing more of these conversations. It's not people being overly sensitive. It's actually listening to the concerns some may have. Sometimes a person might see something that's not there. Other times, they're going to have a genuine point that will make you look at a piece of media differently. Thank you for your question, Sonia.